Welcome to the latest show in our series called Lexington Remembers. My name is Dan Fenn. I'm one of the people who, over the years of this series, has conducted interviews. And today, we are very fortunate in having with us Jane Trudeau, who is the president of the Friends of the Council on Aging. And what on earth, Jane, is the Friends of the Council on Aging?
Well, we're the fundraising arm for the Council on Aging. We're essentially, if you know about Lexington Education Foundation and the schools, that's sort of our role regarding the senior programming at the new community center. And before that, it was at the senior center. We raised funds for programs, but always working with the Council on Aging.
And from whom do you raise the funds?
From you and other good citizens. We do an annual appeal. And years ago, back I think around 1979, a woman left in her will that when she died and her house was sold, the Friends of the Council on Aging got half the proceeds. And that's when we became a 501c3. And a whole group of citizens, the Kellys, really were working. And it's funny, the money back then, 1979, was to furnish a new senior center.
79?
It took us a while, but the community center is certainly a wonderful place.
So in those days, 79, I guess the senior center was at Muzzy.
I believe so.
And before that?
It may have been at Church of Our Redeemer.
Yeah,
the
I think
visitor
so.
Center. It sort of went to large. The Muzzy was considered really a step up because we had a whole 2 floors. And in the beginning, there was a program for adults with memory issues, or that was housed in the same site as the regular programming.
And the Friends started sometime in the early 70s then.
I think there were volunteers as early as 1972.
Yeah.
But we didn't become a 501c3 until someone gave us a really large amount of money.
Yeah. And then I think the Kellys, they had fundraising programs.
They did wonderful. I remember one auction. I mean, they used to raise really quite a bit of money. But the goal was always furnishing the new senior center. Mm-hmm. And it took us a while, as you know.
Well, I remember we were talking about that new senior center for
right.
decades before the community center came along.
Yes, and the community center, that was really, I think we reached a point where we felt there would never be a senior center, and that a community center made more sense, really, that there'd be more political support for it, but also you would have multi-generational. It wouldn't be a segregation of seniors. And so a committee was formed. We had no building. A committee was formed with Laura Husong as chairman, and basically we talked about, we went and we visited community centers. We talked about a community center, and it was just fortuitous. I mean, we could have been another committee that was, papers went in the file, but instead, the Masonic building came. As that committee was finishing, we had really built the case of support for a community center. Mm-hmm. So then when the selectmen were offered the opportunity, we had done really all the work.
Yeah, the programmatic work.
Yes,
yeah.
That there were community centers, they were working. Some of them were multi-generational. And so it was just wonderful that.
Now, the Council on Aging is a formal committee appointed by the town manager
And
advisory to the town manager.
That's right.
For senior programs, right?
Right.
And the Friends are tied in with the
Definitely.
COA.
That's right. I'd say they come to us through the Human Services Department. The Human Services brings their budget that they would like us to fund each year to the Council on Aging, and the Council on Aging really makes the formal requests to us. So, for example, we give $6,000 a year, just a block grant. But basically, the Council on Aging has approved that and makes the request. So we work through them. And in fact, we had a grant from the Dana Home Foundation, which is a wonderful resource for seniors. And that grant was to begin the OWL program, which was Older, Wiser Learners.
Now, what was that again?
OWL,
Yeah.
Older, Wiser, Lifelong Learners. And it's been a very successful, it was initially funded with an $8,000 a year grant. We did it for 3 years with Dana Home money. And then in the 4th year, we were so successful, and we were just making a nominal fee, $25 for a 5- and 6-session course, and we were self-sustaining. And so now we offer at least 7 courses each fall and each spring, and our registrations were up around 300.
Now, how do I find out about this? It sounds fascinating.
Well, OWL, it's the senior newsletter that comes, usually lists our courses, and we're in the recreation book. Now that this community center, the recreation catalog has a section, lifelong learning, and we're one of the programs, a lot of the exercise classes.
So I could find out about it through the community center.
Oh, yeah. In fact, the recreation catalog lists our program, and you can register now we're very modern, you can register online using your credit card.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Right.
So what kind of courses does OWL offer?
Well, our goal was to, the senior programming really concentrated on wellness and a lot of health issues, and we felt we'd like something more intellectual. So we've had programs on China, Shakespeare, philosophy. Lexington has so many people who are so talented. We've had tremendous resources. A man named Larry Prusak has taught about wisdom and knowledge. Bob Rotberg taught about Africa. We've had a professor from Bentley who talked about China. We have a woman from Salem State who's done very successful Shakespeare programs.
So does anybody come to these things?
I said we have our classes fill. I think our biggest turnout, we had the whole faculty from the neuroscience department at Wellesley, and we had 150 people registered. We did that at St. Bridget's because they had the bigger hall. But yeah, people, I think when they find out about it, and our goal was to make it accessible, daytime, and affordable.
And it's $25 for a course?
$25 for a course.
You can't go wrong with that.
And we have if anyone just says, I can't afford that, we'd ask no questions. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So there's financial aid, I guess you'd call it.
So it goes beyond simply making grants to the Human Services Department and the COA.
We seem to have moved, yes, I would say historically, I think when it started, if there was a luncheon, this is back when we were in Muzzy, if there was a luncheon, staff would come to the Friends of the Council on Aging, and we'd write one check to pay for the luncheon. Then we progressed to the point where we said, give us just an amount.
Yeah.
In other words, we give a check for $6,000 a year, and you can use it however you like.
Yeah.
In addition, Lex Connect, which is the deeply discounted taxi service, we give $10,000 a year now to help subsidize that.
How does that thing work?
Well, people, if you travel within Lexington, it's $3 each way, and you call the day before. You have to buy a book of coupons at the initial book of coupons. You have to buy in person because they want to know that you're mobile and you can get about. But so it's $3 each way. It's heavily subsidized, not by the town, but by the Dana Home Foundation contributes $5,000. So there are people who can't afford the $3. There are free rides available.
Yeah.
We put in $10,000 a year, and I think the subsidy is upwards of about $20,000 a year. That if you're riding for $3, the taxi cab, you give the driver a coupon, but the taxi cab company sends a monthly bill, and they're charging probably $10 a trip.
So what's happening then is that the FCLA is a conduit through which I can give some funds which support programs that enhance the quality of life for Lexington seniors.
That's right. It's
and as a matter of fact, as I remember it, the FCLA helped get this series Lexington Remembers started,
yes.
for which we're grateful.
Yeah, our most recent undertaking, OWL, continues, but we thought we would, just since the community center was new, and we wanted to sort of give support to grassroots ideas, we started something this year called Bright Ideas, that people
I saw a sign at the community center for that.
People would write an application. That's what I've got here. We would never give more than $3,000. I mean, we're limited in our budget of what but we wanted to see what ideas were out there that people might like to see. And one of the really interesting ideas that was beginning to take off is to have sort of a literary magazine with senior writings, fiction, poetry, whatever. And we're just beginning, and we would fund a paid staff person with a volunteer editorial board. So that's one thing that's happening. The other is that some groups who meet would like to have hearing-assisted devices, and there's a proposal before us to buy a portable hearing-assisted device, microphone, that probably through the library, actually, will be able to borrow it to use at their meetings, where they're in a facility where they don't have that kind of, I mean, the library has hearing-assisted, the community center has in some of its rooms, but this would be one of the proposals we're considering. So we've gotten 6 proposals for different projects. We haven't decided which ones we'll fund, but any rate, it is true, it's your money. People who contribute, who make it possible to sort of have enrichment. As I started out saying, what LEF does for the schools, but on a much grander scale, we try to do for seniors.
Mm-hmm. And so if I had a bright idea of a program that I thought seniors would find useful and interesting and fun, so how do I apply
it's interesting.
To you?
Well, we've made a very simple application. This is our application form.
Just one page?
One page. Give us your idea, approximate idea of what your budget would be. And
And where do I get the form?
You can get it at the desk at the community center, or if you go online, we have a website, Friends of the Council on Aging. I think it's .com. Friends of the Lexington Council on Aging. Friends of the Lexington COA.com. Our
Friends of the
application.
Lexington COA.com.
Applications for our OWL program, applications for this are available, and a description of the program.
And so the Bright Ideas is a new
Brand
initiative.
new. I mean, we didn't know would we get any ideas, would we get any applications, but it was sort of a way to see, are there things that people would see happening at the new community center that's not being offered? And we've gotten 6 rather interesting proposals.
I would think that that would be a program that would grow, that you'd have more and more people with, when they hear about it, with ideas.
Well, the approval would have, staff has to be willing. Sometimes it involves staff time and work. Staff has to be willing, and the Council on Aging has to approve what we're doing.
Yeah.
But we haven't done it before, and we'll see how it works out.
And how do you go about raising the money to do this?
We do an annual appeal, and the woman who left us half the profits from her house, that money is managed by the trustee of public trusts, and we get the income. So we have income between our annual appeal and the interest from our benefactors' generosity. We have about $20,000 a year in income, where we really have never really approached Lexington businesses, and that's probably our next step, is to either get them to sponsor perhaps some of these bright ideas, but it's essentially always been just Lexington citizens supporting us.
So here's an opportunity for people in town to help seniors live a more interesting, lively, fun life.
Also, a woman named Fern, I think it was Fernstall, just left us a bequest, or left to do a wellness program. Or she didn't leave us a bequest. She said, if you're making a gift, she died, and her charity that she wanted people to support were the Friends of the Council on Aging, but for the purpose of doing a wellness program.
Ah, okay.
And so there will be something happening. Another man, Mr. Gardner, years ago left $30,000, and it was for programming. And each year, they've used it as an endowment. So each year, there's a certain amount of money that's available for programming as a result of Mr. Gardner's will.
So that's
And
another
sometimes
way
people will give a gift in memory of someone,
yeah,
in addition.
yeah. Good. Okay, well, thank you. That's a very exciting opportunity which you provide for seniors, and an exciting opportunity for the rest of us to help seniors.
Well, also, if there's anyone interested serving on the Friends of the we have a board of about 13 people, and anyone who makes a donation is a member for that year. And we'll have an annual meeting in June. The third Thursday in June will be our annual meeting, and anyone who's made a donation can come and vote on our officers, and we've revised our bylaws. And also, we're always looking for volunteers who would like to work on Bright Ideas or the OWL program or serve on the Friends board.
And the best way for people to get in touch with you is through the community center?
Yes.
Yeah, good.
We meet, the Friends of the Council on Aging meets the third Thursday of every month, 9:30 at the community center. And we'd love to have people come and tell us their ideas or come and find out what's going on.
Good. Well, Jane Trudeau, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sounds like a very, very exciting, worthwhile effort. Good.
Thank you, dear.
How was the time?